Hey everybody, just a quick note before the show starts. Jake went ahead and did a solo episode of Into Somewhere for AEW Worlds, and I was still off on my merry way doing some holiday stuff. Hope you guys are having a good holiday. Hope you guys are having a good tiptoe towards the new year and the Netflix era. We will be back on Into Somewhere to talk about the first Raw of the Netflix era. That will be over on Jake's channel, so go check out Jake Countdown Ended DeMarco, and shout out to him for holding down the fort while I was elsewhere. Enjoy.
Taking stars off screen again, talking about the fights unseen. Into somewhere we descend, wrestling's the dream world they defend. Talking WWE and NXT, climbers, heroes, villains, all survivors. 2024 has secrets deep in the ring where shadows creep. Into somewhere down the rabbit hole, best and worst stories they unfold. Clash of legends, past and fresh, in the chaos they refresh.
What's going on, ladies and gents? AEW World's End is over. Jake Countdown Ended, coming to you live. Hopefully everybody's doing well. People in the chat chiming in. I appreciate you guys checking this out. Subscribe, hit the like button down below. I hope everybody's doing well. This was certainly one of the better shows, if not the best show of the year. AEW does not have a match problem. That's for darn sure. They seem to have a weekly television issue. Dynamite has not been great for a while now, unfortunately, but they give you the matches and you get a great show. A little bit long as always, but overall, some really great matches. I had a lot of fun with the show tonight. Want to hear what you guys thought. I'm going to go ahead and, chime in with the chat. But all in all, I mean, big ending tonight's show. Kenny Omega makes his surprise return. AEW's World End 2024 kicks off with a bang with one of the best openers I've seen in quite a while. And then they end the show with a huge surprise. The return of FTR and the Rated R superstar Edge as well is back. Adam Copeland in the ring. He's there once again. I was very surprised with the ending. I mean, it looks like Omega and Okada is going to be either at All In Texas or something that comes up before then. It was a little bit peculiar. We'll get into all of it. I like the Rated FTR surprise. I kind of wish they held off on Omega because it's his company. He's an EVP. They had Christopher Daniels come out and say he's no longer an EVP. This man is. So wouldn't he be returning to save his company, to go ahead and try and make things right with Moxley going ahead and taking over and just causing so much havoc and just destroying everything as the Death Riders have been, just running roughshod. They took Rampage off the air. My God, Rampage is no more. Shout out to Michael and Alejandro, Liz, and the one and only Cody in the chat. Shout out to you guys. Thank you for hanging out and tuning in. Yeah, they had a great night tonight. I mean, honestly, again, week to week seems to be their problem, giving you a reason to care about why the people are fighting in the ring. Not a lot of story progression tonight. We'll see what's happening in the main event. I mean, this really took a wild turn when you think about it, because Orange Cassidy has made this decree. He proclaimed that no matter what happens, he's going to go ahead and make sure Jon Moxley is no longer champion. Now, Hangman, Jay White, they all kind of get cast aside for FTR and Edge. So, kind of an interesting thing. Omega going after the Continental title against Okada instead of trying to save his company. But let's break into all the matches tonight with the card. I'm not too worried about the kickoff show. You know, it was what it was. It did as it needed to. It wasn't okay. So they had the 0 hours start off tonight, and you got what you usually get. We got Toni Storm, who's dealing with amnesia currently. She is out of her mind and thinking that she's just, hey, She's a brand new person on the roster. She doesn't know what's going on in her mind. And she's going ahead and she's having a great time. What's up, Danny? Shout out. See, I got the green screen set up. It's just not lit yet, so I can't put myself into any more gay porn yet, but we're working on it. Kickoff match was decent. Layla Gray, obviously no one that's going to win. Tony gets the quick win here with the quick roll-up, trying to make her seem like a plucky new girl. We had QT Marshall, the Doom, not taking on the Boom, took on Jeff Jarrett. Surprisingly, Jeff Jarrett won here. I figured they'd want QT to go ahead and continue his somewhat of a winning momentum that he's been on. And then they had the Outrunners and Top Flight taking on Leo Rush and Action Andretti, who kind of broke up with them before, with Lance Archer and Brian Cage. Talk about like a weird look for Brian Cage as well. He really looks like Andrei Arlovsky had a baby with, I guess you would say, I don't know. I wouldn't want to know at this point, but that's okay. Yes, child, you're live. I am ignoring you in my own chat. I'm going to ignore you on live, too, but that's okay. So we went ahead and, we're going to see if Jeff Jarrett announces his retirement there. I'm happy with it. See, I can ignore Danny. That's all right. She's only a little bit on vacation, so I'm okay with what they gave us for the pre-show. It wasn't anything great. I prefer when we had the Costco guys on there. Funny enough, at least it gave us a reason to care. So they started off with Kyle Fletcher taking on Will Ospreay. This was the finish of the Blue League for the Continental Classic, the C2. This was absolutely incredible. Early on, Ospreay gets completely busted open. So he goes ahead and just manages to appear from ringside with this crimson mask early on. And it does not stop. From that moment on, you just saw the blood spray everywhere, all over the mat, all over the floor, all over ringside. Absolutely incredible. I was shocked with what we got there as far as them not going ahead and wanting to stop the match for any sort of like blood loss or, hey, let's go ahead a la Finn Balor at WrestleMania and quick clot that quick. But no, they let him bleed, and he looked exhausted, but damn, did they tell a really good in-ring story here. And that was most of it. Pretty much all we've had for the past few weeks has been really good wrestling, which is not a thing to complain about, certainly, especially the years that we got with, Baron Corbin being in charge of Raw and 2-minute matches and piss breaks. Having things like this where you get these high-intensity, high-octane, real show of spirit matches, it made it feel explosive, made it feel like a true must-win scenario for both men. And it also kind of continues this feud because now they're 1-1. We had the draw. They each got a win, so at least there's more to it. Fletcher doesn't look terrible in defeat here by the way Ospreay won. I'm disappointed that Ospreay didn't win, and I understand the story they're going with later on with, Omega coming back. I've never been the biggest Kenny fan. I've enjoyed him more recently, but seeing what he's brought to the table, we'll see what happens with this story. It's just not making a great deal of sense. Then we go ahead, we build into Ricochet in the Gold League taking on the runner-up Okada. So they had a pretty decent match here as well. Okada early on, really going ahead and messing with Ricochet. He takes him down to the ground, starts running the ropes like no other, and manages to get the crowd to be silent, and he runs by like an Olympic hero and just smacks Ricochet's head, getting the crowd to go nuts. We got some good bald chants and a few, funny moments like that. The crowd was pretty okay tonight. There was a few moments where you knew they were dead, but it was during certain matches that kind of just were the rest points between the real high spots. Again, Okada, he goes and misses out of the spirit gun, and he hits Ricochet with the Rainmaker at the end, gets the big clothesline, pins him. Ricochet is destroyed and no more. But then, we have Swerve Strickland comes to the ring, goes ahead with a wheelbarrow filled of toilet paper, and proceeds to go ahead and they allow the front row to cover Ricochet in toilet paper while wishing him a Happy New Year. Certainly a highlight of the night. And I mean, Discord aside, and whatever discourse people may want to have about this, it is not a great look for Ricochet. He's certainly had some good matches, but could he not be a bigger geek at this point in time? Between the way he was going and just arguing with people on Twitter left and right. I know he can do it under the guise of I'm a heel now, I guess, but in the great scheme of things, it's just disappointing to see that I don't know, he has to resort to these type of tactics, try and garner heat. And like I said, hitting him on the head there was absolutely hilarious. Great little moment there from Ricardo. Really goes ahead and smack. Gets a great reaction from the crowd. Like I said, they cover him in toilet paper. It was a funny ending, and it's cool to see how things have, I guess kind of turned around for Ricochet in a way now that he's a heel. He's getting some better stories, but certainly doesn't look great. He looks like a real jobber here. Swerve got beat by the Hurt Embassy, so I didn't know at first when Swerve came out if he was going to kind of try to recruit Ricochet in a way, since they threatened Ricochet as well, and MVP kind of took back their business card while Lashley goozled Ricochet and just they really made him look small. They decimated that poor boy. So hey, that's what it took. Mariah May comes out next, taking on Thunder Rosa in a Tijuana street fight. Not much here, not really much to sink your teeth into. I don't think anybody really thought, again, that kind of was a bit of a recurring theme tonight. Happened in the main event, happened a few other times. Really, if it wasn't dealing with the Continental Classic, surprises were kind of off the table, because with the way they booked the Classic so far, and I give Tony credit for this, it really felt like it was anybody's game. I could have seen Fletcher in the main event against Ricochet, and really, it could have been okay, so I do give him credit for how it was booked. Made anybody feel like a possible true contender for the championship. I enjoyed that. But with this, we had Thunder Rosa at one point in time being the women's champion. And then she had an injury. She was out for a while. And then they had their AEW backstage reality show come out. And they really kind of poisoned the well. We heard about issues in the back between the ladies and, Thunder Rosa having issues, not really relating well to people and kind of causing this great divide. We saw it play out between her and Britt Baker on the show. They had this real heated rivalry in the back, and they kind of put on a bit of a smear campaign on her, and she's been gone for quite some time. Until recently, she comes back, and it was kind of a quick thing for her to be thrown into the Dynamite ring and kind of be like, hey, guess what? No, not Ring of Honor. You're back, and you're going for the title because you never lost it. So it just felt like a real, I don't want to say the match was doomed, but there was never enough animosity or friction or tension or anything between these two to really make it feel believable that Mariah May ever stood a chance of losing here, even with Thunder Rosa's father being ringside. So they tried to really, take out all the stops here as well. She brought out a piñata, Thunder Rosa did. Took a few swigs of tequila at one point in time, Mariah May did, and spat it in Rosa's face. That was funny. We saw the usual sense of hardcore chicanery here. We saw them slamming their heads onto chairs and into piles. They jabbed the chairs into each other's throats. We saw them do some near falls on the thumbtacks. I've never been crazy about hardcore wrestling. You saw them grab the barbed wire, and that's when Mariah straps it around her knee, and then she drives her knee into the ring steps, and you think, all right, maybe Rosa's got a chance here. And then she grabs her dad's cane and she starts to beat Mariah with it. And they had that bad table spot. They kind of tried to recover, but they got some Tijuana dirt from a graveyard that her father brought with her. A little bit of lore there. And they got a pile driver off the apron through a table. If that was not the finish, help me God, I might have had a heart attack. especially after what these went through. It was like a 13-minute match, and you got thumbtacks, barbed wire, tables, chairs, Tijuana graveyard, soiled dirt, ghosts, Mexican lore, and maybe a chupacabra. I don't know what else. This was not for me. Like I said, I hate saying it was doomed from the start, but it really felt that way. And especially with the rivalry of Mercedes and Statlander that we had a bit later on in the night, that had a bit more prestige, even though it's the essential mid-card champion. That one kind of took precedent over this, making the main women's title, again, fall behind. This happened quite a few times. You know, we've seen TBS champions kind of be dominant over the women's champions. We saw it with Jade. We saw it with Spooky Girl there as well. So I appreciate Gorilla Strong and Liz and everybody happen in the chat. She shouldn't show up and ask for help at a YouTube channel now. Yeah, she got an ego. You know, I've heard that, but maybe she's above it. We'll see what happens, you know. We'll see what happens. She wouldn't be asking for help with her car, that's for sure now. I actually had that thought earlier. Gorilla Strong makes me chuckle, you know, thinking back to those days of her reaching out to the fans for help. Don't need that now, certainly. So then we had the devil. We had Adam Cole taking on MJF. Again, I don't want to say another thing was doomed coming in here, but this was such a mess, so convoluted, such a mind-boggling pain in the ass to get mentally through. There weren't any mental gymnastics that you could do to connect the dots of the story they tried to tell. For what they set up here, they screwed the pooch. They missed their window. They should have just bypassed each other and tried to touch on it later on, or maybe just, try and flip things a little bit. Having Adam Cole now be the face spits in everything that they did throughout 2023 entirely. The best friends, the double clothesline, the kangaroo kick, all that they set out to accomplish by making MJF become a face. They made him endearing. They made him lovable. They made him our scumbag. He was a douchebag, but he was our lovable douchebag. He was going to shit on everybody, but that's just him. He was quirky. And people got behind him, and it worked for a while. We saw it happen at All In. We saw it work all the way to World's End, where he lost the title because of Adam Cole, the devil, and everything else. And then what happened? They couldn't finish the storyline. Adam Cole got hurt. He accidentally broke his ankle. Disappears off TV for a while. MJF fucks off for some time as well. Comes back, and look at that. He's a heel when he returns. He's going to leave and film a movie for a little bit, but in between, he's going to go ahead and try and cut as many ruthless promos to possibly remind you, I'm a bad guy. And we're supposed to believe that, you know, Adam Cole was always right, and screwing MJF was truly what they should have done. That was justified when it wasn't. He was betraying a friend because he was afraid he was going to get betrayed in the end. He wanted the title, and his jealousy won. And for us to perceive it any other way than that is just fucking nuts. It's fucking nuts. And you know what, Gorilla Strong, you're absolutely right. That was kind of my issue earlier. I was kind of questioning even tuning in with this tonight and watching it because of how just not enthralling AEW has been. There's just been that lack of any real main story that's just got its grips into you, that makes you want to tune in, and MJF had that for me for a while. And there's been people, there's been stories, there's been people and things that I have cared about, but sadly, it's been a while. And this match just was overbooked to hell. So again, they kind of screwed themselves again because we saw blood so very early in a match to the point that it was unintentional earlier. So having Cole blade himself so early on by being shoved face first into the ring steps. I mean, within the first minute they did this. So MJF shoves his, Adam Cole's face in the ring step, comes up bleeding from the forehead a little bit, and they ran Cole's head into the ring post, and he went ahead and when I did the MJF baby chants, and he jumped in and just kind of took over for the match for a while. Then we finally saw Adam Cole hit a brain buster. He gets a bit of a near fall, and at one point he does finally hit the Panama Sunrise. And this was one of the best sells I think I've seen for that probably ever. He landed it in such a way that he spiked his own head directly into the mat, and it just looked so physically brutal that it made perfect sense why that would be a finisher. For all the times that they've had that stupid flip, I'm like, he's just flipping it. No, this plummeted his neck into the mat. MJF flies backwards, goes to get the boom afterwards, collapses to the mat. And that's when he goes ahead and Cole picks him up and says, I'll tell you when to pass out and I'll tell you when to give up. And, I forgot to mention, but early on we also saw the rest of the Undisputed Kingdom at ringside. It was Matt Taven, Mike Bennett. They were out there already. Not seeing anybody else yet. You kind of figured, all right, they'll get involved later on. So, MJF goes and he's going to get hit by the boom after getting picked up, but he clips Cole's knee, puts him in a couple of different submissions, a figure four. They do the flipping back and forth. And finally, we get some interference on the outside. So MJF goes to Taven and Bennett, and he slams his ring into the steps, and he yells for the referee. And Remsburg looks over, and he sees, Taven and Bennett there, and they're arguing, no, and the fans say no, but he throws them out of there. They're getting the fuck out. You guys are going to the back. Get the fuck out of here. And while they're, in all this, schmaz, MJF, he's got the ring. He goes to hit Cole, but Cole avoids it. And that's when Cole goes ahead and he grabs the ring. And he's going to finally nail MJF. He goes to hit him in the head and he gets kicked square in his tiny, tiny framed balls. Falls to the ground. MJF picks him up, gives him the Heat Seeker pile driver. 1, 2, 3. The bad guy wins. And I was okay with this decision. I don't want to see anyone else but MJF with that ring. He's completely just been it with that diamond ring. It's a part of his character. It's a part of his repertoire. I know they hate that. It's part of his moveset. I'll be a mark and say it. But I'm okay with him retaining this because he's done it for the past 6 years. Beat Hangman first, all the other people that he's conquered along the way. They even forgot to, yet eventually threw out Ricky Stark's name there. I like how, they had to throw that in edgewise just in the last second because, God forbid we forget to mention that there. But they tried to let that one skirt as long as they could. And that's exactly right. He could have been a top guy, but not right now, and maybe not ever. He really, as the champion, he felt in that true upper echelon, and he really he had this and just lost it. So after the match, MJF is going to grab a chair, yells to cut the music. He wants everyone to hear that he's gonna break Cole's fucking leg. He wraps the chair around Cole's ankle, goes to stomp it. Roderick Strong runs out. MJF gets the hell out of the ring while Roderick comes in there to save the day. And that's when we see Kyle O'Reilly come out behind MJF. MJF kind of makes it seem like, oh no, we're going to be friendly. We're in Kyle agrees for a second. It's silly, but it's wrestling. And he throws him into the ring, and they triple team him, and they kick his ass, and there was some boos and some cheers, but it wasn't like a true, raucous ovation to see these guys back together again when they really weren't ever apart. They've been on the same page for quite a while now, and even though there was this argument of, I don't want to see you make other people fight, your battles, even though that's not what happened. Cole never asked Roderick to fight MJF. It's all weird, but now Roderick still owes MJF an ass beating. So does Kyle, essentially, and Adam Cole lost here. So I think we're far, far, far from done with this, obviously, and there's a lot more to come. Then we go ahead and we were going to go ahead and get Takeshita taking on Hobbs. For me, this was just a skip-worthy match, and that's sad because I really like Takeshita, but this was another one of those finite decisions on the booking card where you knew, a la Cody Rhodes, he was not going to lose. Takeshita was not going to drop the belt to Hobbs. Maybe they could have pulled out some of the stops here. It wasn't a bad match. We got the crowds chanting meat yet again when they got into it for a little while. Takeshita looks great like always. I like Don Callis as a heel on the mic, talking him up the whole time. They tried to tell a bit of a story here where Hobbs was in the Don Callis family, but then he got injured and they forgot about him. And it kind of makes him sound a little whiny and a little bit petty because the entire time they're going, oh, you didn't call and check on me. You didn't see if I was okay. Well, you guys weren't best friends. You're not lovers. You're not in a relationship. You're in a working agreement to kick people's ass and win titles. So should he be checking in at your hospital side? Maybe, but you guys weren't tag champs running up and down the nation together. You were just in an organization of like-minded heels. So, again, really shitty build. The wrestlers did their best to try and get the crowd behind them. We got the Raging Fire finisher, gets to the pin after the guillotine held in for a while. Hobbs loses clean here. It doesn't bury him by any means, but does he look stronger coming out? No. Because he had to overcome? I'm sorry, I don't feel that way at all. For the next match, there was a lot of hype, a lot of build, and a lot of, real big excitement for the rematch that was Mercedes Moné versus Kris Statlander. Hey, Swerve Show, what's going on? And do you think the bidding war of 2024 was the biggest missed storyline? Yeah, I think they really, like I said, they had something with MJF. The tattoo, him bidding on himself, and that whole stupid shit, all of it just defied the character of MJF. It went against everything that he set out for. He wanted to be the top star and the highest paid athlete, and that's not at all how he presented himself. He did not do anything to precariously find a way to get him into this position. I've held this orange juice for like 5 minutes now. See, without spaz, I don't take time to drink anything. But we're working on it. I'm used to being the co-host. Yeah, so the CE no was not fun. I agree, Liz. But yeah, the bidding war of 2024, there's a lot of storylines I look back on, and that's one certainly at the top of missed opportunities. Something that was kind of heartbreaking, I appreciate the effort that they put forth with Brody Lee and the way they kind of always, each year, his birthday and his passing date, they go ahead and they touch upon both. And they put out a playlist, essentially, and it was one long 2.5 hour video of all of his moments, promos, matches, his entire AEW catalog. And that includes the ending of the tribute show. And it was just so surreal and disturbingly heartbreaking to see how his entire AEW history fell into a 2.5 hour block of pandemic, no fans wrestling. And the fact that he didn't get to debut in front of an audience, he never got to really have those moments in front of fans. He was robbed of all of that. And that's what we have to look back on, is just, it's something. It really is. But, not to bring people down, but I do love seeing that Bray and Brody's kids are being still cared for, taken care of. They're not on TV being paraded around, thankfully, but they were at SmackDown and several recent WWE house shows, so that's cool to see them yeeting in the ring with Braun and Jay and Sami Zayn. So, as always, heartwarming to see -1 and, Bray's kids in the ring together. But certainly something to think about. So Mercedes, the CEO, Monet, CEO, taking on Chris Statlander. Again, with this being the rematch, you're saying, could they, would they? But, they won't. Kind of been the thing for a while now. We've had a lot of set champs, a lot of belts haven't floated around. Things feel stagnant and stale. The Mercedes Monet experiment has been very hit and miss. Her matches have been okay. Some of them have been better than others, and this one was decent. It was good. I preferred their first outing at, what was it, Full Gear or All Out, either or. But with this one here, I wanted to get into it more. There were a few moments towards the middle with some of the false finishes where you said maybe a little bit, but I never really could truly suspend disbelief and get into the thought that, hey, this is what's going to happen. Mercedes is screaming at Statlander at one point, why won't you die? And she gets the statement maker, puts it into an STF, and then Statlander reaches the ropes. She's just still screaming, why won't you give up? And the fans are chanting fight forever. And that was kind of the moment that it really broke out. And this was probably or possibly one of the longest matches of the night besides the main event. And it was a good 25-minute match. They did a good job with pacing, with keeping the audience involved for the most part. It never hit that crucial level. And I think part of it for me was the I don't know what you want to call it, the break spot, the outside spot. So Statlander, she gets an F5, and that was her near fall. And that's the one the fans kind of bought into. It's been about 15, 20 minutes at this point, so fans are like, this could be the end. And then they kind of battle back, and you see Monet take her to the outside. She gets to the apron, and she hits a goddamn inverted pile driver. Jesus, what is the apron made out of? Play-Doh? Peanut butter? Isn't that supposed to be the hardest part in the ring? That's why I liked how MJF, it was like that quick follow-up. Oh, he got the Heat Seeker missile because of placement, everything. That should have been it. That should have been the finish here. It shouldn't have led to everything afterwards. The 9 count, Monet holding up her arms, being like, why? As Statlander beats the count was kind of silly because she wanted to go back out there, and she's like, no, I'm gonna stop her. I don't want to lose like this. I want you to be destroyed. So a little bit of the heel coming out there, some decent work. Again, not a bad match by any means, but just nothing for me to sink my teeth into. I don't care for the character of Mercedes Monet. So going forward, I don't have much of an interest with any feud that she's going to have. And her being the champion, it's like, well, who's next? Who's next in line to see her face, one another? They haven't really been building anyone else lately, and that's been a problem for a while. We saw it with Moxley when after he took the belt, there was no one in line really to face him for the title. And it happened again and again and again. We saw it repeatedly. What's going on, Casey is Raw? As the months went on Dynamite, I had hoped it would be a bit more of a change, but unfortunately, that was not the case. And I wanted, I guess, a bit more to have a reason to tune in Wednesday. I wanted to be like, oh, this happened, but... And we saw a lot of clean finishes in the sense of, like you saw the person flat on their back, nothing put forward. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Where does Ospreay go from here? Take on Fletcher again? I know they've got the rivalry. Down the road, it'd be good to see with a belt on the line or with some purpose, a really good stipulation. But to go right back into that, I feel like that would fall flat for both of them. And I'm kind of curious, where do they go from here? So, the bad guy wins. Is it the right decision? I'm not sure. I'm personally not a fan of this outcome. So, we have the Continental Classic Tournament Final for the AEW Continental Championship. Kazuchika Okada, the Continental Champion, going against Will Ospreay, the Crimson Face Warrior. These two, right off the bat, getting holy shit chants from the crowd. Earlier on, backstage, Will, getting some treatment from the med team, told the crowd, I need you to give me your energy. I'm exhausted. I'm bleeding. I'm hurt. I need to feel it. I need you guys to make me feel alive. I need you to give me your energy. Let me feel you. A little creepy, but he wanted to feel you. Everybody in the audience. And he did. Because the crowd roared in one of these, I think the second loudest ovations of the night. Obviously, the loudest coming up. But these two, they traded a lot of stiff shots. Okada really put in a good work ethic here. You know, Ospreay goes to the ropes at one point, and he gets drop kicked hard, and they end up at ringside, and you see him, and I'm like, oh my God, he's going to hit a tombstone, but they avoid it, and they do the flips, and then Ospreay jumps up and eventually gets a cutter off the barricade. It was just a really good, innovative way to hit that move. He gets another one after a Styles clash. Back in the ring, a lot of close falls. A Rainmaker happens. Just kick out after kick out. Again, we get the crowd fight forever. They're getting real into it, and you see the two men, and they start headbutting each other, and it flashes back to shades earlier in the night when Kyle Fletcher was headbutting Ospreay to open up his cut wider. Okada now trying to make the blood come out more, and you see Ospreay's cut fully reopen at that point with the last headbutt, and he goes ahead and he gets Okada grabs Ospreay, gets him with a really sharp German suplex, and then flips off the camera, goes for the Rainmaker. I thought that was going to be it, but no. Spanish Fly! Holy shit, what a near fall. Crowd came unglued. That should have been it. That should have been it. Ospreay, after everything he dealt with, after everything he came back from, he should have won here. Especially with what happened next. So Okada catches Ospreay, cuts him off the ropes with a drop kick, and Ospreay gets the Stormbreaker. Another great near fall. I wish that was the finish, but it's not. Goes for a double underhook. Is he going to hit the Tiger Driver? No. Rainmaker. And then he avoids the Hidden Blade, and he hits him again with the Rainmaker. 1, 2, 3. Kazuchika Okada defeats Will Ospreay in about 19 minutes, I think I got around there, 19:30, to win the tournament and retain. So they give a little show of respect to one another, a slight handshake. We now know that Okada has beaten Ospreay 9-2, and with the story there of their history, with Okada always beating Ospreay, or at least being the victor more times often than not, with the blood and the damage to Ospreay, he had his Rocky moment, and he truly was able to defy the odds of the injury and all of the battles throughout the tournament with that he's had so far to really just he's had some real close calls, some bad losses, terrible defeats that weighed on him heavily. This was a great character making moment. We needed the celebration, we needed the feel good, but I get why. So they go to crown Okada with the title. Christopher Daniels walks out on the stage and he says, I would present you with the belt, but I can't do that because I'm no longer an EVP of AEW, but this man is. And are you ready for it? I hear the battle cry. It's Kenny. He's back. His paychecks are running thin, and his hospital bills have now run dry. He's ready to return and fight. We knew that he made his big announcement of his return match to New Japan, but besides Wrestle Kingdom, what would he be doing? I'm baffled here. This probably, if this was the case, should have been the main event. Now, I see why it wasn't, because they wanted the FTR, Edge, FTR, whatever, rated FTR group to be the big surprise. But Okada won. and they're playing Kenny's music again and again, and the focus is on Kenny, but Okada is the champion, and I know you want to sell the rivalry, but this isn't going to happen Wednesday. This is probably not something till Texas for All In July. If anything sooner, I highly doubt it. It seems like, and it is a big match, and it is their Mania moment, but damn, does it not, upset me to see that that's what we haven't got. Yeah, it was cool to see him using the chair again, Liz. We'll bring that up again at the end, seeing Edge break out the chair bar, the triple power bomb. They certainly pulled out their WWE moments tonight, no doubt about it. So I would have liked to have seen Ospreay win here, the feel good, the celebration, and save Kenny. You're bringing back Edge and FTR. You're not doing anything with Okada here. I mean, they did a close up of the Texas sign, so I guess that but Kenny's wrestling shortly in a few days' time for New Japan for Wrestle Dynasty. I mean, it is good to have Omega back. I wanted him to return, but you had the Elite make fun of him. I know they on his birthday they poured out all the entrails and organs on his cake, making fun of his diverticulitis diagnosis and him being out injured. And then they went ahead, those evil bastards, and they fucked off. They got the hell out of here. They lost the titles, and they said, fuck this place. I don't want to deal with Moxley and his crazy bullshit. Have you listened to him? He's sober now. He's like creating his own religion. He's on step fucking 9 of AA, and now he just decided to become his own Christ. Nobody wants to deal with Moxley's Bible. Of course not. Who wants to listen to him ramble on about the second coming of Jesus and his wife being immaculately conceived? I don't have time for that nonsense. So Kenny coming out, not saving the company, and being so short-sighted to only go after an old rival, it shows Tony's dependency on bringing up not just things from the past, because you see him rebook angles from the Monday Night Wars, and we see him, but things that were popular once before, these past feuds. It's nothing that he's built. It's not people excited because, oh my God, we're gonna see them wrestle again. Oh no, we saw them in New Japan. So the lore, the history, the feuds from there transpire on to what we get now. But you didn't earn that. You didn't build that. I'm not saying don't pay attention to it, but it is a very weird thing to have a heel stable do an entire takeover to the point where they took your Rampage show off air the night before. Pac smashed the lights to black out the building, and then Moxley took over the production truck to shut down the show. Kenny doesn't give a shit that they're taking Rampage's 104 viewers and kicking them off the air. I think somebody would be upset. You should want your company to survive. You're not going to be able to face Okada if Moxley destroys the title, and then what's left of your, so with the story that they're telling there. And remember when we thought Shane McMahon was coming when they first started this? It seemed like, there was this higher power, another exalted one storyline. Someone was leading Moxley. This is not your company anymore. And we got the Ku Klux Combat League and all of their white power, just diatribe. It was a very weird start. And they did this quick takeover. They murdered Bryan Danielson, and they have tortured everyone else in their way. So Kenny not wanting to save the company really shows either that he's just a chicken shit or doesn't care. It's a weird stance, especially when they on air bring to light the EVP role that he has. So again, weird thing, but yeah, the belt in that case, the belt's got to go. Being in the briefcase, we're not even seeing the belt on him. The Moxley storyline, it's really not progressing. We're just weekly getting shots of them riding around in a truck in the desert. They beat the shit out of some of the mid-card guys and torture Orange Cassidy. that's what we've gotten so far. And I mean, there was a point in time where Jay White and Juice Robinson had probably my favorite tag match of last year, if not of all time in AEW. It was so damn good on Collision. It was an hour long, amazing match. Can't overstate it enough. So to see what we got here, we're leading to the four-way. We knew we were kind of going to see some chaos and some mess, but that's not really what we got. So Orange Cassidy, the evil cowboy, Hangman Page, and Jay White come out, and we're going to get the four-way for the AEW Championship underway. Jim Ross, Excalibur, Shivani, they're all on the comms for the main event, and Bryce is the referee. We're making this shit legit. So they all start to go ahead and take out Moxley, but Page and Jay White, they start bickering. They've had this back-and-forth feud with each other. There's been a lot of hate between them and, a lot of ill will. So we see them start to fight, and that's when Cassidy hits Moxley with a suicide dive, and, Page and White join, and everybody just starts fighting. And you see them kind of just brawl, and they separate into twos, and eventually we get the rest of the Death Riders to show up, and the crowd was chanting "F.U. Yuta" later on, which was funny. But we get Claudio and Yuta out there as the numbers, and they're kind of protecting him. They pull him over the barricade. They make sure he doesn't get hit. Shafir is just getting in there. Marina is using her little Russian expertise, because now she's not the problem and there's no violins or violence. She's just all out into murder. So she starts punching and beating the shit out of Orange Cassidy. And Moxley finally takes him back inside, and Cassidy rolls out to the other side. He puts his hands in his pockets after telling him to wait, whoa. And, it's enough of a distraction for the other two to show up behind him. And we get the triple power bomb a la Shield style. I really wish that we got the ooh-ah from Orange Cassidy. Really would have sent that one home. But we got our Shield moment anyways. A bit of a fun thing there. Eventually, it just all turned into total chaos. Christian comes out with his whole group of the Waynes and Kips and whoever else wants to be in that fun group. And, they originally were up top, but people were going to start brawling. And is he going to be involved? Christian still has this contract. So knowing Edge is getting involved later, you can see how it's going to eventually likely peel off to him and Christian again. But we'll see. So they all start beating down Moxley, and Moxley's is already been bleeding, and he's been beat down. Everybody's getting a piece of him. It looks like he's gonna get destroyed, but Wheeler Yuta breaks up the pin. The second ref gets taken out. They go ahead and finally they go ahead and I think it was Moxley grabs a chair. So he goes ahead and he's going and he's going to hit Hangman, but he again gets hit with the lariat. And Moxley was going to get pinned for 3 there, but no referee. And that's when we go ahead and, Cassidy stops the pin. So that was kind of a weird room. That's like I said, when Wheeler Yuta goes ahead and stops the ref, and we get an F.U. Yuta chant. So again, just like Kevin Owens getting the visual pinfall, we saw Hangman defeat Moxley, so he has some claim to the title. So now we go ahead and White grabs Marina, gives her a Blade Runner. Love that. Yuta gets the Bazaiku knee kick on White, though. He falls down. Moxley follows up with the Death Rider and covers him, and they just shoved the ref back in the ring, and that was it. And it felt so defeating of a main event. I figured, usually these things tend to run long, and for a brief moment, after the Kenny Omega, return, I was like, oh, that's it. Kenny's there. We're gonna check out. And then I remembered, I'm not a fucking moron. There's a main event. There's a title match coming on. I'm not a blithering idiot. There's one more match. John Moxley's got to come out and defend. And you really figured this was going to be where they pulled out all the stops. The 4-way, Moxley's involved. But it was just more of the same. More heat. More of the Death Riders getting involved in the numbers game and them getting destroyed. So they go ahead, and now everyone's getting beat down more. And they go ahead and they grab Jay, and they're going to destroy him with a chair. And that's when, because not to mention, I should have brought this up, but they did on Rampage destroy Darby Allin, as to why we didn't see him tonight. So they Pillmanized his neck at the top of a staircase with a chair. Claudio jumped off and stomped on the chair around his neck. Ugh, God, poor bastard. And then they knocked him down the stairs. Moxley kicks him down this fire escape looking set, rolls all the way to the bottom. Darby just loves throwing his body downstairs, huh? How many times have we seen him do that now on a AEW TV show? So no Darby to come out, but we hear FTR. The commentary team is like, oh my God, we didn't know they're back from injury. This is incredible. This is amazing. Holy shit. This is great. You think you know me. Dun, dun, dun. Hey, look at that. We got Edge back as well. Adam Copeland comes out with Dax and Dash. They go ahead and roll in. They're just fucking wrecking shop. And they tear him apart. We eventually get to see him. He grabs Moxley, puts him in the hold with the chair leg around his mouth again, like he did to Roman at Mania and a few other times. So it's good to see that return. And then he goes and he looks for a mic that's not working, finally gets a mic, and he's like, oh, come on, kid. I'm calling you kid because I was doing this when you were still in your dad's testicles, whatever. It's a little stupid comment. And he's like, you're all mine. Rated FTR, we're taking it all. And that's it. We got, the banner for the end of it, and that was it. So we never were unsure of the outcome of this match. Never had I ever set into this thinking that Moxley wasn't going to retain. I knew he was, but it was about how and why. And instead of making them feel like a real dominant force, they just feel like a thorn in the side of people because other people aren't smart enough to work together and have backup. Like, that's really what it comes down to. They're not pulling off great tactics and being masterful and always one step ahead of their enemies. Moxley's not, witty and cunning and devious. Instead, he's just constantly with the diatribes and the bullshit of things we don't yet understand because we're not allowed to. We're not made to understand yet. And instead, they're just an issue. It's just more heel heat. If we saw, Cassidy come out and he had the conglomeration with him tonight, more than likely would have had a different outcome. If they had Willow take out, Marina, then Jay White wouldn't. So many things could have been changed, and to see everybody after the match then spill out and say, Moxley, I'm going to kill. So why not be a factor to make him not the champion anymore? Why wait to the end? So those are the things, when you try and put the creative behind it, it's more lacking. Tonight, they had some really good matches. The Ospreay opener and Okada match were 1 and 2. Those really delivered. I'll even say Mercedes did okay. But the main event left so much to be desired. I mean, there wasn't really the triple powerbomb. Okay, we're talking about it because it's the Shield, but was there anything from the main event that anybody in the chat really cares about or will remember about this 4-way? I mean, that's why I don't have the Cody hat on. I got the shit show supervisor hat on because it was a shit show. That's according to plan. I don't even have the banana light on. The green screen's not lit. It's a shit show. It's AEW. I wanted to see a bit more here. I mean, yeah, Edge, woo, should have stayed retired. I don't know. It just should have just left WWE with his head held high. He hasn't accomplished anything in AEW yet to not even the level of Edge as Adam Copeland, but even on the same playing field, him and Christian could have had something, and then it just, again, got to be about everything else and lost focus. They lost the light. They lost what they intended to do. They lost sight of themselves, and it really just fell short. And that was the disappointing part of it all, because it shouldn't have been that way. We should have loved to have seen him in an AEW ring, but with the Aleister Black or Malachi Black, excuse me, and House of Black feuds and everything else that just was so disappointing. All in all, it just leaves so much to be desired in terms of creative. And there's a lot of things in WWE right now that I'm in love with. And there's some things that aren't working still and that need some work and that need a little bit more focus. But for the most part, there's a lot of that something for everyone. Now, tonight, they had that. But I walk away a bit worried because what did they have? They had great matches with Ospreay, but he didn't walk away the winner. He didn't walk away really any further ahead. Yeah, he put in a great effort, but he still lost. And especially with how battered and beaten and bloodied he was, to see him triumph over all of those, just hurdles and obstacles, I think they really had a star-making moment that they just took away from themselves tonight. All in all, I'd probably give the night like a 7 out of 10. I'm curious to see what you guys think about it. Looking at some of the discourse online right now, it seems like, just Edge hates the Shield, and I agree. It's taking them out one by one. You did it to each man. But for the most part, I mean, damn, I feel like there was a big miss tonight. They had some really great showcasing moments as far as work rate and in-ring ability. But, I mean, Swerve and Ricochet, do you want to see them have a match? It was funny that Ricochet got screwed and trumped out by Swerve. Oh, we made fun of him. We threw the toilet paper. But is it any reason to really want to see them fight going forward? I don't know. Not having the Hurt Syndicate on here at all, having them be a non-entity while everything's going on with the Death Riders trying to end and destroy AEW, basically. It's all just very disjointed. At least there's throughputs in WWE where one of the recent Raw openings was probably one of the best of the years because of how seamlessly it flowed together. It started with Punk, and he's talking about his gripes and everything after War Games, and then Seth comes out, and it's him and Seth, and then Sammy, gets involved with Jay, and everybody has their own motivations. Everybody has their own, purpose and their own story, but yet there's still that throughput of how they're all connected. They're connected to the bloodline, the Shield. You did this. You created Roman, so you might hate me for teaming with him, but you created him. The whole, as we're here, they have storylines that they're actively telling you to either forget, that you misremembered, or that they just never finished. And instead we get this, as I said before, disjointed and lackluster overall overarching narrative. I'll give you a perfect little example that I could think of off the top of my head right now, but even with the Death Riders, we haven't really had that, like, where it starts and it feels like it leads to something. But Friday night SmackDown opens with Aldis. He's putting out this. I'm telling you verbatim. Here is how it's gonna be. This is the law. I'm laying it down. This is what you're gonna do. The end of the night, it all comes and builds to what? A match at the Rumble. Like it built. Start, ended, built towards something. Gave you a reason to also want to tune in and see more. With the end tonight, it's like, oh, we're already getting a match. We're getting, rated FTR versus the Death Riders this Wednesday on Dynamite. They just came back tonight. That was really fucking quick. Why do you want to tear apart Moxley? Because you're older than him and you have more experience? That's about all you said tonight. You said, boy, I'm more wise than you. You're young and I'm going to fuck you up. But why? Why are you Mr. AEW? I get FTR coming out. They've been pushing the AEW banner. And yeah, you did a raw AEW speech at one point too, Adam, but really, it's not your banner to fly. And the people that should be defending the company from these people is fucking Kenny Omega. So I don't know, but chat, That's the thing, Omar. We had Edge and Omega returning, and it still feels flat because we don't have Omega really returning. Do we see him on Dynamite? I doubt it. I highly doubt it. We're not going to see him wrestle probably for months. Now we are going to see FTR and Edge take on the Death Riders in a 6-man tag, but then what? Who's going to go for the title? Just Edge? What is FTR going to do? They're just going to be his lackeys and help him? That kind of seems like a step back for them. Shouldn't they be going against Private Party? Yeah, I mean, Kenny had the Bucks screw him over, and then so I get the hate with Okada and the Elite to a certain extent, but a lot of it, yeah, everybody's ahead of schedule, and a lot of still the checks haven't cleared. So I agree, Omar. You know, I wonder what you guys give the show tonight. Like I said, I'd give it about a 7 out of 10. I was entertained. I had fun watching it. Usually their shows feel long, especially being conditioned to WWE's, 5-match, 3-hour format that they've had for quite a while now. For a bit, it was like, oh, it's only the other shows. But no, it's kind of gone to everything at this point. So all the PLEs lately have been that 3-hour, 5-match format, and I've enjoyed it. As much as Spaz says, oh, well, they could have done this or that or this or that, it always leaves you wanting more. And for everything they didn't put on the card, it leaves us more to build off later on. Having these 9, 11, 15-match cards sometimes is just that. What do we have left to look forward to? So, certainly makes me wonder. But great matches. Does it lead anywhere? We'll wait to see. I give the night a 7 out of 10. Curious to know what you guys think. Go ahead and comment. Let me know down below what you thought of AEW World's End 2024. What did you think of MJF going ahead and retaining his Dynamite Diamond ring? Okada winning the C2? Kenny Omega's return? Adam Copeland rated FTR? What was your favorite thing of the night? Make sure you guys go ahead. Let me know down below. I appreciate all of you hanging out with me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you all live. That's right. I will be live January 6th after Raw on Netflix. I'll be here. I'll be with Spaz. We'll be breaking down everything for that Mania level Raw. They're highlighting the night with a main event of Seth Rollins and CM Punk. Supposed to be one of the main events of last year's WrestleMania. Now it's going to end a Raw in January. Holy shit. So let's go. We'll definitely see you guys there. January 6th will be live. We'll talk to you before then. Go ahead, like I said, hit the like button down below. Make sure you subscribe to see more, and we'll see you all soon. Thank you so much. Happy New Year, happy holidays, and everybody, as always, stay sexy. Thank you for watching The Shit Show.